Hello, this is the Lord's Legion and welcome to the best villains ever, the show in which I talk about a specific villain and talk about their backstories, abilities, greatest feats, and why I love them so much. Now it is pretty evident that I have yet to talk about an anime villain, and truth be told, I don't really watch a whole lot of anime in fairness. But even with that being said, I grew up with Dragon Ball Z like most people. So I thought to myself, you know what, why not make an episode on one of my personal favourite villains from Dragon Ball Z, who is of course Cell. So without further ado, let's begin with his backstory. Now Cell's origin story is incredibly fascinating, as he was designed to be the ultimate life form, or as he was often referred to as the perfect warrior. Now Cell is in fact an android who was created by Dr. Gero, who has previously created other androids in the past. However, in the case of Cell, he was unique in comparison to the other androids, as Cell was actually cloned from the collected DNA samples from the sea fighters of Earth. But not only that, he also had some DNA samples from Nappa, Frieza, and even King Cold. And because of this, Cell was dubbed as the most powerful being at the time. However, in Cell's original timeline, both Android 17 and 18 were destroyed. Therefore, Cell couldn't achieve his goals in becoming perfect. And because of this, Cell decides to take Trunks' time machine in order to go back to the past, to the time where both Android 17 and 18 were still alive. So that way Cell could eventually regather his strength, absorb both Android 17 and 18, and then ultimately become Perfect Cell, therefore fulfilling his destiny to become perfection. Now looking back on Cell's origin, like I said, it is incredibly interesting to see how he has pretty much every sample of every sea fighter at the time, including other villains like King Cold and Frieza. And this makes Cell all the more interesting because not only are the other fighters going up against someone who is incredibly powerful, but it also seems like they're facing off against themselves, because Cell is essentially a part of every single sea fighter. And it can be rather frightening to have a being whose sole purpose in life is to obtain ultimate power, just so that he can deem himself to be perfect. And to me, having an antagonist who is made to be the ultimate life form while at the same time still incredibly power hungry is rather interesting to me. Now, like majority of other characters in the Dragon Ball Z series, Cell has quite a lot of forms, with each evolution being more powerful than the last. First of all, Cell has his larval form, which is essentially just him as a fetus. And then as Cell is further developing, he would go on to creating his cocoon in order to gain his strength, which then leads Cell into his first core form, which is known as the Imperfect Cell. And a little side note here, this form of Cell was the stuff of my nightmares growing up. And although this is him at his imperfect form, Cell could still wipe the floor with Piccolo, which is pretty impressive. And then after absorbing Android 17, Cell evolves into his semi-perfect form, where his power level further increases by a landslide. And semi-perfect Cell is that powerful he can casually destroy islands. And then after he inevitably absorbs Android 18, he ultimately becomes the Perfect Cell. And this is the form where Cell is fully defined, and is also pretty close to his full potential. And then after Cell briefly lost his perfect form, he ultimately transformed into his self-destruct form, where he is that powerful he could potentially destroy the planet with just a minute to charge. And then after the core Cell survived from the self-destruct form, the core Cell eventually evolved to become Perfect Cell once again, but on top of that he became that powerful he ultimately became Super Perfect Cell, which is easily Cell's most powerful form. And Cell is so powerful in his Super Perfect form that even the world trembles. And now with all that being said, we can finally get onto Cell's powers and abilities. For starters, Cell has superhuman strength, speed, durability, reflexes, and agility, with also a genius level intellect to boot. Not only that, Cell is also very adaptable and can also transform depending on the amount of people he absorbs. Plus he has energy absorption, manipulation, shields, and can enhance his strikes. He can also create miniature versions of himself known as Cell Juniors, who are extremely powerful like Cell himself, however they are far less durable. He also has longevity, an enhanced healing factor, and is damn near immortal so long as the core Cell still lives on. Not only that, Cell also has the ability of flight, psychic, siphon abilities, size manipulation, telekinesis, teleport, and is even a skilled combatant. And because Cell is fused with DNA of pretty much every sea fighter around at the time, Cell has a bunch of techniques that he has learned through all the sea fighters. To name a handful of them, he can do the Big Bang Crash, Death Beam, Laser Ice, Gallic Gun, Kamehameha Wave, Hell Bazooka, Humming Destructor Disc, Perfect Barrier, Perfect Combination, Special Beam Cannon, and his most powerful move, the Solar Kamehameha. And according to Cell himself, he is capable of creating the Spirit Bomb, however it's never been shown that he is capable of doing so. Now Cell has achieved plenty of great feats when he was still around, and I'm only going to be focusing on the Dragon Ball Z version of Cell. And to make this more interesting, I'll split them down into 3 forms, starting with Imperfect Cell. In just over 24 hours, Cell was capable of absorbing 15,000 people. And during his first encounter with Piccolo, Cell was capable of tanking one of Piccolo's blasts, who wasn't even holding back at the time. And while in the same battle with Piccolo, Cell was capable of breaking his neck with one arm and proceeds to nearly kill him. And not only that, Imperfect Cell was also capable of going toe to toe with Android 16, to which he himself is capable of taking down both Android 17 and 18. And in this battle, Cell was able to survive an Inferno Blast with little to no scratch. And eventually Imperfect Cell did succeed in absorbing Android 17, which smoothly transitions to Semi-Perfect Cell. While Cell was in his semi-perfect form, he was capable of keeping up with Goku and could almost catch him if it wasn't for Goku using his instant transmission. He can also destroy whole islands with just one blast, as to which he can regularly do this casually. And while in his semi-perfect form, so long as he can transform into his self-destruct mode, he can ultimately destroy a planet with just 1 minute to charge, which can be pretty devastating. Now as for Perfect Cell, he is capable of taking hits from Krillin without even flinching, and can effortlessly take him down. He's also capable of taking down Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, which is traditionally more powerful than Super Saiyan 1. But not only that, Perfect Cell can give Goku a run for his money without even trying. And in this battle, Cell can go so fast that not even everyone who was watching at the time could keep up. And for them, Cell just came across as a blur. Perfect Cell is also capable of decimating an army with just one backhand, which does showcase that Cell is a one-man army. As mentioned earlier, Cell is that powerful in his perfect form, he can make the whole world tremble, can quickly regenerate after Vegeta's final flash, and after his upper body was completely destroyed by Goku's fully powered Kamehameha, Perfect Cell could easily regenerate from that attack. And he is also capable of going toe to toe with Gohan, who at the time didn't even know his full potential. And although Cell did eventually die by Gohan's Kamehameha, it was incredibly impressive to see that Cell was capable of holding his own for that long. And most shocking of which is of course the fact that Cell is so powerful that he could destroy an entire solar system. Now what makes Cell a very special villain is the fact that he has pretty much every aspect from all the other Z fighters. And because of this made Cell 10 steps ahead of everyone else, because he knows every move. Unlike other villains before him, Cell was actually very intelligent and cunning, and he knew exactly how to exploit everyone's weaknesses. But not only that, he also has pretty much everyone's personality traits, such as Vegeta's cockiness, Piccolo's cunning mind, and even being as sadistic as Frieza, to name a few. And because of this, Cell has the perfect amalgamation of being an incredibly dangerous threat, as well as being a straight up cunning villain. So because of his incredibly fascinating origin, as well as some of his evolution, not to mention the fact that he also has the traits of pretty much every Z fighter at the time, and lastly the fact that he is both a threat physically and mentally, this is why I personally believe that Cell is one of the best villains of all time. So are you a fan of Cell from Dragon Ball Z, and what is your personal favourite moment from him as a villain? Comment below and share some thoughts. And as always, thank you guys for watching this video, please like and subscribe, take care and have a good one.